Hello, welcome to Imperial Inquisition. Oh, I've been wanting to get this off the ground, or I had the idea for this since May, and I wanted to do it in early June, but that never happened due to technology and where I am. But now, after a long time, we're ready to do this. Right. So yes, the Iron Inquisitor here. All right. Next person, introduce yourself.
Sveiki visiem. My name is Latvian Dragon, and I'm back from the ashes.
Yes, welcome back to podcasting. Next person.
Okay, hello. I am the Healthy Man. This is my very first podcast.
Awesome. Glad to have you on, man.
Yes.
Who's next?
Tad.
I'm Tad Larken. I am the host of the YouTube channel Manda-LORE, as well as Captain Fordo on YouTube, and I'm glad to be a guest. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad as well.
And now Kyle.
Oh god. Okay. I'm KylePhantom. I'm just here. I'm just recording because I'm the cameraman. So,
Chime in whenever you want to.
yeah, I'm just gonna chime in whatever I want to, but most of the time, I'm basically a ghost here. So, yeah. Da 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 da. He's KylePhantom. Da 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 da.
All right, Yukaphile,
Yes, hi.
welcome. All right. So now we're going to go and discuss our experience with the series. Like, how did we first find out and watch it? Since I'm the host, I'll go first. All right, so when I was I had to be in first grade, second grade when this was on. My dad, he taped the Clone Wars Microseries on VHS, and it was usually all the little individual episodes. And I was just blown away by this. I was like addicted to the show. So cool. And I remember for the first part, like, which we'll get into the Grievous stuff later, like, that was kind of a cliffhanger. I was like, what happens next? And then when he finally got the next part, it ended. I was like, what happens next? And that was literally the end of it. And I didn't know it would lead right into Revenge of the Sith, which was really cool.
You know, there's something of a well-known continuity glitch there between Labyrinth of Evil and Battle of Nelvaan. I haven't read Labyrinth of Evil in a long time.
I haven't read that book at all, but yeah. So yeah, because I was actually at the age where I grew up with like both of the Clone Wars series. Like, I was younger with the Microseries, and it was just like 5th grade going into 6th grade when TCW came out. But yeah, I do have nostalgia for both series. So who wants to go into their experience next?
I think I will go.
Yeah, how'd you first get into it?
Well, it wasn't watching the show itself. It was actually watching, I don't know, music videos featuring using clips of it, especially the
Oh.
General Grievous ones. And thanks to that, I'm a big fan of Grievous.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay. Tad, you go.
When the series first came out, I was either in 5th or 6th grade. I was around 11 or 12, and
Cool.
it was really cool because I had not seen a Star Wars TV show before. So seeing all the little micro commercials on Cartoon Network, and then when we got bigger episodes, that was really cool to me. And
Oh yeah.
what you were kind of saying with not knowing when the series was over, I for the longest time thought I had never completed watching the series
Oh
because
wow.
it was the Battle of Coruscant, and then it just ended, and I'm like, I feel like there was more after that. But then Revenge of the Sith came along, and then it wasn't until I was older, that like 13 or 14, when I realized like, oh, it all kind of meshes together. Because I went back and
Yeah.
rewatched the series on YouTube, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And now I own the series on DVD, and I actually got season 1 signed by Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO in the series.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, quick thing. I actually saw Anthony Daniels in person like 10 years ago. It was for my birthday. There's like this Star Wars in concert thing, and Anthony Daniels was hosting it. It was at the arena where they do like sports and concerts in my hometown. But that was so cool. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
All right, who wants to go next?
I think it's Kyle.
Ah, Jesus. Okay, so... Back in, like, 03, I was, like, a third grader, I think. Or, yeah, I think I was a third grader. The show came out in 03, right? Or, I don't remember.
It started in 03, and then it ended in 05.
Oh, so,
Yeah, and
Yeah, so right before Revenge of the Sith.
yeah, I was
And so when I was back then, I was a third grader, and obviously it ended when I was in 5th grade. So, well, not fourth. I was technically a fourth grader when Revenge of the Sith came out, but man, my experiences were like kind of mixed, I think.
Oh, really?
Oh, sorry, that's me.
Oh.
But I generally didn't. Back then, I just like, I don't know, something about it. Like even now, like I have some issues with it stemming from animation wise or whatever. Or maybe because now, like as an adult, like you change, and your taste changes or whatever. Because yeah, but see.
Take your time.
Back then, it's just been a long time. Back then, I didn't enjoy it, but I felt like something was just off about it. But I, thinking back on it, but I rewatched it like years later, and I loved it probably more than TCW, which came out in 08.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of a weird thing for me to say. I don't know what it is. So yeah, that's not much of a story there. Just it's kind of a weird situation for me. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
okay.
Fun fact. I was born in 2003. So this show is old as me.
All right, who's gonna go next?
Congratulations there.
I guess I could go next.
Sure.
All right, so I was 3 when it came out, so I don't exactly have that much, well, I do have memories about it, but not like scene by scene. So rewatching it, I rewatched it a couple of years ago, but rewatching it again, and I don't know, it's kind of like when you're older, you have a lot more like patience for things, and I really did enjoy it. The only thing that bothers me is Anakin's neck, but other than that, I really did enjoy it. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Yukaphile?
My turn.
Yep.
Back then when it came out like literally a day before my birthday. I just googled that online, and wasn't really that invested in, and I saw it sometimes on Cartoon Network. I was more into like its anime lineup. I found it kind of weird. I wasn't that into it. I was more into like the Jedi Apprentice books back then and Animorphs. It wasn't until the last 10 years I've kind of been getting more and more into the expanded universe. It was a bit scattered before then, and I literally only just watched it before coming to this podcast, and I think my feelings are kind of like Kyle's. I had some issues animation wise. I didn't really get what it was trying to do, and now that I'm a lot older and now that I've had more experience, I appreciate what it was trying to do, and I like it. I was really hooked, and just I see a lot of thematic resonance to all the other material released then, Knights of the Old Republic, and lots of other stuff back then, and I like it. Yeah, I do like it. I didn't like it then, but now I do now.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you guys talked a little bit about the animation and your feelings, but basically it's because it's done by Genndy Tartakovsky.
He did Dexter's Lab, I hear.
Yeah, he did. It's basically
And Samurai
kind of like Samurai Jack Star Wars. Think about it.
Samurai Jack in Star Wars. Fun fact: one episode of Samurai Jack, it was a really Star Wars reference. There were many Star Wars references.
Well, I've actually never seen Samurai Jack. I've heard good things, but I've just never watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain segments of it felt like something like what I was struck by was when I first played Knights of the Old Republic 2 12 years ago. It felt like at that moment when you're storming the Zerka mercenary camp on the Tilo surface. I had the same feeling kind of at certain points.
Oh, really?
So it feels like the George Lucas vision of Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you guys think of the voice acting? There's not a lot of it because it's mostly like it's very visual. Like, I really like the guy they got for Anakin because
I agree with what Tad said. He sounds a lot like Hayden. Or
he really does. And I think he's
Yeah.
the same guy who did the voice for Anakin in the Episode 3 video game. I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah.
That's confirmed. And Battlefront 2 and the Clone Wars video game from 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really does sound like Hayden Christensen. Like, he sounds so much more like Anakin too. Like, what was the guy? Who's the guy they did for TCW?
Matt Lanter.
Matt Lanter, yeah.
Yeah. One of the guys at the Anomaly server said that Clone Wars is so free. Anakin's voice sounds like someone just trying to mock Hayden's voice. What do you guys think of that?
Well, he sounds pretty close.
Well, yeah.
And they also got James Arnold Taylor was his name. He voiced Obi-Wan. He did a really good job. They also brought him back for TCW, but he sounds like Obi-Wan.
Yeah, weird enough, he also voiced Johnny Test.
Really?
Yeah, apparently.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, he also was in one of the Scoundrels Cantinas videos.
Really cool. And I also heard Grey Delisle, who is a very famous voice actress. She did a lot of stuff for this. She did like Ventress, Shakti, Padme.
Wait, she did Shakti and Padme as well as Ventress? Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, Grey Delisle is a really talented voice actress.
Okay, there's another thing.
She also voiced Azula.
Zula.
Yeah, Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, I know.
She voiced.
I've never seen.
She actually voiced Sam and Danny Phantom too.
I've never seen Avatar, and I hear everyone's hero Dave Filoni directed the first season. Well, some of it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing interesting is that I probably think there's two voice actors for C-3PO, because first time I heard him in Volume 1, it was the same episode, I think. The voice was just off, like it was voiced by someone else, and then later, few minutes, it's Anthony Daniels.
I'm
Or
gonna
like
have to
two,
look.
or like
They
two
got
voice
people to
actors
voice
for.
him.
Yeah, it was something like Jar in TCW, but at least it was one episode where Jar Jar was miscast. Well, had a different voice actor.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and what do you guys think of the clone voices? They don't sound exactly like Tamora Morrison, but
They don't sound anything like him. I think they were trying to go for like a stormtrooper thing, but
oh really?
Yeah.
the same guy who voices the clones actually also voices Captain Typho, and Captain Typho's voice sounds a little bit more like the clones than anything. So I wish he put a New Zealand inflection on the
Yeah,
clones.
that
but
that would have made it a lot closer.
it's whatever.
Question is, I swear I heard also Kratos' voice from God of War. There's one separatist general who think it will.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Who think it will only take 1,000 Jedi to destroy his stronghold.
Oh yeah, I'm curious who voiced him now.
Apparently Kratos is voiced by Christopher Judge from Stargate.
Okay.
Oh, I love Stargate. I know who Christopher Judge is. He's great.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch Stargate sometime.
But
You
the
should watch
person
it. I
you're
think you would
talking
like
about,
Yeah.
Latvian, is he's from he plays Bender on Futurama. I forget his name, John DiMaggio.
John DiMaggio.
Oh,
John DiMaggio. Hey, tu nost. Really? Well,
He
that's
does a lot of voices in that series. He does Grievous too.
oh cool.
Grievous. Sweet. There's also okay. When I watched the Volume 2, one of the comments said that Nelvaanian's voices were basically gibberish Hungarian.
Yeah, they
Oh,
speak
cool, really?
Hungarian. And it's not gibberish. It all translates out. Well, Gendy Tartakovsky is Hungarian, so
Oh,
Yeah,
I heard he
yeah.
was Russian American, wasn't he?
Well,
his wife is Hungarian.
he did. Well, his family did move from Russia to America in the 70s.
In the commentary on the DVDs, he explains that his wife's parents speak Hungarian, and his kids have Hungarian names for their grandparents on their mother's side.
Yeah. Okay.
I go a bit off topic. Well, just a bit. What is your favorite thing about the Microseries?
Mine personally,
Yeah, everyone's.
Well, for me, it's kind of like the animation, the movement, Jedi fights.
oh, the action.
Yeah. With really stylized animation, it really can captures the of what the Jedi could do. If it was all done in live action, it would look way more ridiculous.
I really don't like a lot of people, especially a certain troll, on my channel. He called it like Dragon Ball Z Clone Wars, but I actually didn't find the force feats to be all that like out of place.
And I like
honest.
Dragon Ball Z, so I don't think that's like should be taken as an insult. Take
Especially
it as
like Mace Windu and Yoda.
Yeah,
Say
I
that
feel
again,
like it.
Yukaphile. Say that again. Say that again, Yukaphile. Like about
I
like
like Dragon Ball Z, so I don't think that's in
Yeah.
it's meant as one, but I don't take it that way. And
Uh,
going off what George says on the commentaries, I think it may not have been Dragon Ball Z he was looking towards since he mentions anime. I think it might have been something like Yu Yu Hakusho. Dirge is almost exactly like the Elder Toguro in terms of regenerative ability. They almost look alike in how the body parts stitch back together.
Yeah, wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if he was inspired by something like that.
yeah.
There's a
Wha-
there's a
Yeah.
little there's several anime references in the series. There's actually a reference to Akira when Obi-Wan is on the speeder bike and he does kind of like that slide drift in.
Oh,
When he
that's
jumps
really
off
cool.
of It's
yeah,
like a
that-
shot-for-shot remake of one Akira scene.
yeah, and TMNT 03 also did that. Both came out in 2003.
This is something that obsessed me about TCW just from reading about it. Urge didn't appear anywhere in the show from what I read, and doesn't
Heard
surprise-
that he would have been hard to animate or something.
he probably would have been, but
They
I really
wanted to
like
change him into a human anyway, so I'm glad
Oh,
they
of course.
it doesn't surprise me.
They could have just used them, just remove his ridiculous powers. So he could still be the same one. It's just that.
Oh, what do you guys
Yeah.
think of the music?
Well, I really liked the first Grievous music at the end of Volume 1.
Oh,
It sounds really intense.
doo 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 doo, or however it went. Sound so great.
Yeah.
With how Mace Windu was built up, you could absolutely buy that he's the one to crush Grievous's chest plate and leads to
Oh,
what we-
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think he would have done more than just crush his chest. Like Mace Windu just removed all the small bits from one super welder and just it collapses. Imagine if he did that to Grievous.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so before we get into the different arcs, I wanted to briefly discuss how it fits in between episodes 2 and 3 compared to TCW.
Yeah.
I think just from what I see, I haven't seen CW yet, and if I am to, it's going to be the last thing after the last EU. I think it complements the two rather than overrides it.
Literally,
Yeah.
like the Microseries really does seem like it was, made at the time to be a direct lead-in.
And yet you can kind of see the hints for TCW very late into it, I think, because there's these very minor continuity glitches like Nelvaan and Labyrinth of Evil, which I mentioned, but there's also the fact I read that on the wiki that George Lucas extended it for Volume 3 because he was seeing how much hype train it was getting. And that's kind of what he did for TCW, but I think he was tired and he just handed it off to someone else. I think.
Yeah. Okay. I've both watched the miniseries and TCW.
Yes,
And-
same, except I haven't watched Season 7 TCW yet, so...
I have watched also season 7. The one thing that really bothers me is that Anakin regrows his hair way much. He gets knighted 2.5 years after Attack of the Clones, and at all those 6 months he grows a mullet, like really fast.
Huh.
Maybe all those 2.5 years he kept his hair.
I don't know.
And finally, when it's 90, he let those hair loose so it can grow.
Oh, any other thoughts on it fitting?
Well, I
In
have
between.
one. It seemed kind of weird, but I mean, I have one about Mace Windu, where he took on whole droid's army by himself. I think that also complements not just the two movies, but what happens in the other parts of the EU, like Shatterpoint. I mean, where he was in that shower room, and because His clothes were nearby. Those 2 security goons thought they could just extort all his possessions away, and he just beat down on them. You could totally buy that's the same guy who could take on whole droid armies. He's so cool.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
he's
The thing people that will criticize that scene and say he took on the whole droid army by himself, but people fail to realize that there were other clones with him.
that's
that-
true.
They were taken down in number because of that stomper thing, but they were there.
At the end of the episode, the battle still wasn't technically won. He just took down one of the seismic tanks.
Yeah, there were
Well,
still battle droids around.
Yeah, there was just one seismic tank. Thankfully, there were no others.
Oh dear.
If there was,
This is why I find it kind of offensive for people to use George to claim that TCW is part of his vision. It isn't. He was more invested. I think it'd be more like the Microseries, because it's just when you look at all the other material, it has a certain layering to it. And while TCW is still part of his world, it definitely intrudes on all other corners. And it's just, they're just using George to blow off criticism, like Filoni does.
Yeah.
That's an astute observation.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what are some criticisms you might have with the show when going back to rewatch it? Like, if anything that I would have to come up with, like, that I have a problem with the show is, like, how, like, when you're an adult, you start to basically kind of demand things to be a little darker for your taste. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, after I rewatched Avatar: The Last Airbender a while back, and I was like, this could have been a little darker. This could have been a little more adultish or push limits. I mean, there's some moments of the show where they could have actually made it a little darker, because I'm looking at some scenes where you had that little ridiculous thing, but if you a ridiculous charge with the sword thing, with all the clones using those sword things and those droids using all those. What are those things called, by the way? On the
Lances, I believe.
Lancer bikes.
Like Lancer bikes. Well, I'm talking about the sword things. Like
Lance, I think it was called.
Like, it was a weird scenario for a full scale war, but that's just my opinion. What are some problems that you guys might have?
Okay, it's more like continuity.
If I'm wrong, you guys can, like, rip me apart.
Okay, the continuity with they're like a weird. There's probably with some connections with the other EU stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with the comics, like with Assajj and Dirge. Well, I can get how Dirge would survive. It's like in Falling One, when they meet Dirge and Assajj, it's as like that's the first time they met. And if I use it correctly, the story takes place right after Battle of Camino, because we see Alpha class ARC troopers, like Captain Fordo.
I
yeah,
can see
about 4 to 6 months after the war.
That's
can
what
see
I heard.
Like Captain Fordo. He's the red guy who led the assault on Muunilist, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys want to get into that?
Okay, I
Well,
guess.
we're getting to. Okay, we're gonna talk about the Assajj later. After we've. Alright, let's talk about the Muunilist 10 arc, whatever it's called.
Yeah, we'll first start with the Battle of Muunilist. So, like the show begins with shows a montage of like the Clone Wars, what's been going on, Yoda, also kind of monologues,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to the planning in the Chancellor's office. And he's just he's suggesting, oh, Anakin should take charge. And I love how every time Palpatine speaks, Anakin's smiling, but then every time Obi-Wan brings up a criticism, oh, he's not ready, he's just Obi-Wan. on.
Yeah, that's just like the episode 3 novel, where he's just giving him advice and being all seemingly warm and loving.
And that does kind of show subtly, his connection with Palpatine. Then they begin the battle. There's the Acclamator class ships. And then Obi-Wan gives a briefing to the ARC troopers to do their mission.
Tad, you had said that in one of your videos that they didn't have any major capital ships until 2 years into the war. Acclamator. You mean the vendors, right? Because they show up later in the series, but early on there's just big transports, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Acclamator classes before TCW, which kind of reduced them to littoral combat ships, they were a bit more beefy. If anybody's played Republic Commando, you can recall that 2 Acclamator class assault ships took down a Lucrehulk class battleship. So they had, in the multimedia project, they had a lot more weapons, they were a lot more versatile, and they took on more of a capital ship role because the Republic didn't have a navy until, that year. Before then, they didn't have a military, they didn't have a navy, so they had to use what they had, and that was the Acclamator assault ships, and then home defense fleets of multiple other planets. As
probably
well
the
as
Consular classes too.
Yeah, and the Counselor class cruisers and all that, they're left over from the Stark hyperspace conflict and the Republic judicial system, which was kind of like a somewhat of a navy, but it was more like a sort of keep the systems in line or send assistance when they could sort of thing. So they were using a lot of stuff like that too.
Yeah. Okay, I know this. I should have said this earlier before we start talking about these arcs, but have you guys seen Star Wars Galaxy of the Adventures?
I don't think so.
I have not.
Yeah. It's basically modern but lesser version of the 2003 show. It has pretty good 2D animation, so it actually is pretty good at times, but it only just uses audio from the films. And there are some changes that got some controversy. But either way, let's continue.
So yeah,
One thing I wanted to say
what did you want to say?
is that when you look at characters like Dirge and what Mace Windu was doing on the battlefield, and then you look at something released around the same time, like Knights of the Old Republic 2, Scion, he's like a zombie, and Eelis, who sucks up whole worlds, and it's just like, for me, it's just like, that's what's missing in modern Star Wars. It's just, they're too afraid of pushing too far and experimenting, even if it means they lose money, and it's just, those were like, very mature.
And you know what's funny?
Very good
Is
stuff.
Darth Vader in the original Star Wars even said that the power to destroy a planet is insignificant to what the Force can do. So
Vader, smoldering on a lava beach. You won't get that in Disney Star Wars either.
Yeah, well, you can kind of get it, but it's much more ridiculous. Like Dooku becoming a vampire, reference to the Hammer films, of course, because Christopher Lee also played Dracula.
that's true.
There's also Mustafar zombies.
Oh, let's get back to the Battle of Muunilist.
Yeah, and there's also there were Sarlaccs in the sewers of Coruscant in canon that Assajj Ventress caused. Yeah, it was pretty goofier than Legends.
What I like about the Battle of Muunilist is that it feels like it could have been something like right out of the Halo games if they just changed a few things around, very surgical. Precision, Strike, and Banking Clan. It's just from with the rest of the multimedia project, you have a lot of respect for them, with Sand Hill and the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ARC
Yeah.
troopers, man.
Yeah.
I love the different sounds their guns made.
Yeah.
And
I
I
really-
have the music right in my head. It's stuck.
One thing I also like, yeah, I kind of like their. Okay, some of the ARC troopers have the kind of like really inspire, really MP13 inspired weapons. Like they even have a grenade launcher.
Oh yeah.
What was that weapon called, Tad?
What?
The one that ARC troopers use. That one, blaster rock that has a grenade attachment.
In the comics, they use what's called an M5 West Star carbine, and that they usually use that for CQB engagements. But in the show, it looks like they have modified DC-15s.
Yeah, it does kind of resemble that.
It doesn't really resemble DC-15. Yeah, whatever. Also,
And I've heard people complain that like, oh, the clones aren't talking. But
Why do they need to?
exactly,
Yeah.
they're
Totally obedient. I mean,
Telling-
TCW, they just made them too mouthy. From everything I see.
But I love how like Captain Fordo just like gives all those like hand point commands, and they go right and follow. It's so cool.
It's like the episode 3 novel where they're sliding down towards Palpatine in the dark on the ship. Obi-Wan is giving Anakin all these signals, and the book tells you what they are.
And also, if they're infiltrating an enemy city, like they can't talk. They got to be silent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They did that on Stargate too. It's how real militaries work.
Yeah. Okay. The Separatist Council, there's all these moons, I think they were called, and there's one, what was called?
Nemoidian?
Yeah, Nemoidian, the same species as New Gunray. Who is he?
I don't never identified him, but what was that one? Was Sand Hill among them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sandhill was there.
Yeah.
He was on the Battle of Muunilist. I think he's the guy who fell to his knees and hit the ground and said, "I'm just a banker."
Yeah, a banker that has a droid army. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, also-
yeah. Even though that like jousting scene was like over the top, it was just so cool because like yeah, those are the same artillery tanks from Attack of the Clones, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but they shot some small blaster bolts instead of huge lasers. Like
yeah,
they
because
did
I
in-
remember in Attack of the Clones they shot like steady beam.
They can switch between the two projectile types.
Okay,
Oh, that would make
so
sense.
yeah, that makes sense.
Can I say something about the Dirge versus Obi-Wan duel, the first one? It struck me as that it could have been just like something right out of episode 3 because it reminds me of when he was chasing Grievous down to the docks where his ship was hidden and they just went right at it. It could be stylistically and tonally, it's exactly the same, in my opinion.
Yeah, one thing
Weird
I find a little bit.
how when Dirge was blowing up all the artillery and ATTE tanks, like he raised his lance and went roar and released like a Wookiee roar.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, it really sounds like a Wookiee roar. Yeah, he took down that AT-AT like it was a beast, like it was some kind of wild animal. It even looks like one.
Yeah, like it was also kind of weird to see Obi-Wan wear like clone trooper armor,
Yeah, it kind of
but it was
suits
cool at
him.
the same time.
So, what else is there?
And I remember Dirge, he kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like when
Yeah.
he got like his arm cut off. Like it was like cool, but like kind of freaky at the same time. Like arm gets cut off, and there's all that like tentacle stuff. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. I also really liked his laugh.
And Obi-Wan was like, huh?
Yeah. And one thing, is this the first time that Obi-Wan meets Dirge?
No.
Did they
Then
first
why-
meet on the moon of Naboo?
Yeah, they first meet. But it acts like they never met, which is pretty weird.
Well, they don't really say anything,
Okay.
so
I know.
it's not exactly as bad as, say, in Revenge of the Sith when General Grievous first meets Obi-Wan and Anakin, and he makes it sound like they've never, met before. But you watch TCW, and they've met like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah. It's
So at least it's not that bad. I view that as a minor continuity error versus the latter.
And that's the thing. The Microseries, everything around it up to episode 3 had minor continuity errors, but towards the end, what I see is it set the stage for TCW and it connected in a few tiny ways, less so in many, many other ways.
Gendy Tartakovsky did a better job connecting with the rest of the comics and novels and stuff in the multimedia project, as well as not really, like, he did his research. He didn't screw up any of the other expanded universe stuff. Like, if you watch the commentary when they're talking about the Ilum episodes, he's like, oh, we went and we did our research and we found that the lightsaber crystals come from this planet called Ilum, and like, oh, why don't we do something with that? That would be a cool thing to do. And
yeah.
And something I can't see him doing is like openly defying those around him, like the documented proof Filoni was doing. George B. Hidalgo, many others.
He had just a great respect for the Star Wars universe, and I think he was honored that Lucasfilm came and asked him, out of all cartoonists, to say, hey, we want a Star Wars cartoon. Can you do it?
And he delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also back to Dirge, like the part where they got to the command center and Dirge is coming. Like, I always thought that the reason Dirge was like that was because like when his armor got like burnt off and he's being shot at, like all his like skin came off, so it's kind of like ugh.
You won't get that in Disney Star Wars. It's just, and then he like does something like Majin Buu and like absorbs Obi-Wan into his muscle mass.
He's like,
Yeah. It really reminds me of Tetsuo from Akira. Like I don't know, he swallows Obi-Wan. Thank God it didn't crush him.
It does feel like a fusion between Elder Toguro and Majin Buu, because I've seen both Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho, and that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
He's about to attack Fordo, but then all of a sudden he starts like, bubbling up and going like.
Yeah, just
Obi-Wan
like that.
uses force repulse and goes like.
And you know what I like about Dirge? I read this. I haven't read the Republic comics yet, but I'm going to. I have them all. Just need time. Is that you can only kill him by like doing something like, I don't know, cooler in Dragon Ball again. You had to like shoot him into the sun. I mean, you're not surviving that.
In the comic, we actually got where that happened. You actually got to see Dirge's face.
Yeah. That's one of my interesting things. If Dirge, most of his mass is just made of veins, what is made of his head? Is it just a skull that's attached to huge tentacle of veins?
I guess
I
so.
don't know exactly about his physiology, but the way they look in the comics is kind of different. He's more of a more solid sort of being.
Yeah. I always thought Dirge was some kind of weird experiment instead of some kind of part of a species.
He was.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I read on the wiki that he was part of an experiment, but his species does have their own unique physiology, and this is why I say continue Legends, get more Gendai, get more of them. They're so cool.
Imagine
Yeah.
like a Gendai Dark Jedi or Sith.
Well,
I want to do that for my own stories. Gendai Force users. In fact, I'm bringing them into my Ruin story, Darth Ruin. If it's good enough, I'll try and get it published on the Star Wars blog as official Legends.
yeah.
So cool. And then I love when Obi-Wan was like, I believe you are surrendering. And then Sandhill like puts his head on the ground and goes like,
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Alright, is there
oh,
anything
I don't think
else?
we talked about the space battle.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Goes casing off after Assajj Ventress. Do not follow that ship, Anakin!
Oh, we'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, I love how like he like uses those missiles and has them follow them. Like he orders like his squad mates to like shoot the missiles over like the bow of the acclimator, even though there's no target. And when the ships come up, it just goes like boom, 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 decimates them.
What you mean where he just flies up over the sign, he says, "It in a few minutes," and then he just races it past them?
Yeah. And then he has a
Yeah.
few of the missiles follow them, and he like goes into one of the gun platforms
It
or whatever
reminds,
they were called.
it reminds me of the episode 3 novel where he went right through. He called it threading the needle, on that separatist cruiser and took out, what was it, those tri-fighters? That's what they were called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I don't understand, why the hell the CIS are using Geonosian starfighters? Like they have their own battle droids. Why they're using Geonosian starfighters? Or Muunilist?
Well, the CIS is a whole combined military effort with all of these major galactic powers, so it does make sense that they're borrowing like technology from one another.
Were Geonosians in Muunilist in the Separatist Council?
The Nantex fighters were piloted by B-1 pilot droids.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember seeing them in there.
Yeah.
And the real in-universe version is because at that point, I don't think they knew what the CIS Navy was going to look like because they hadn't seen that in the films yet.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
I mean, Gendy obviously knew of the Vulture droids, but they didn't appear in Attack of the Clones, so he didn't know if they exactly were, still being used at that point. Because last time they were saw, not looking at the expanded universe, was Phantom Menace, and that
True.
takes place a good 10 chronological years before Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know if like technology would still be, exactly the same.
Yeah,
Right,
you're right.
but
Take
it's
it from
easily
an
retconned by what I just said. So
take
Yeah.
it from an old Star Trek fan. There's nothing really weird about a coalition of space powers sending ships to help one another. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen it in Babylon 5. I've seen it in many other sci-fi of the old.
because if you look at a lot of the vehicles of the CIS, and just by browsing Wikipedia, you can find that a lot of the vehicles are made by different, of different like parts of the CIS. Like the Hellfire droids are produced by the Banking clan, but the snail tanks you see on Kashyyyk are produced by the Techno Union, and the
Yeah.
B1 and B2 battle droids are produced by Bactoid Armor Workshops, which is owned by the Trade Federation. So you have this mix match of these different corporations kind of getting all their vehicles together, and I think that fits pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about the Battle of Muunilist?
It was a a pretty good start of an arc.
This next part is pretty short. It was only one episode. It was the Battle of Mon Calimari.
Okay,
AKA,
he
yeah.
lasted a very short time against Palpatine in the novel, and with what Mace Windu does, you can in the microseries, you can totally buy that he would last longer, but the Fisto lasted a little bit.
Yeah, Kid Fisto. Yeah, it's impressive how he used the Force to create a kind of weird bubble.
Oh yeah,
just-
wasn't that the only time he's used the water orb in Star Wars, or has he done that other places?
I want to say this. The water bubbles there kind of remind me of, again, going back to Dragon Ball Z, because I have seen it. People insult the microseries by calling it Dragon Ball Z. That was kind of like 17 versus Pickle, where they're under the sea and they're throwing like pressed air bubbles at one another.
I think it was called like his Force water orb. I think the only other time I've seen it was in like the gameplay mechanics. If you bought like the DLC from the original Battlefront 2 on Xbox, he kind of had like an ability where you could throw that stuff.
Yeah, kind of wish that DLC was also imported to the Steam version.
That would be cool.
There's a mod on ModDB where you can download the Xbox version of Battlefront 2.
Fun fact,
Yeah.
like if you have an Xbox One, there was an update that actually brought the DLC to the Xbox One.
That's so
Battlefront
cool.
2. So
Yeah,
the same thing for KOTOR 1 with Yavin.
yeah, I think I like the Xbox version of Battlefront 2. The UI looks way better.
Also, another thing to point out is that like the AI is a little better too than the PS2 version.
Because it was a lot more powerful than the PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it also they also unlike the PC version and the PS2 version, there were enemy hero units or whatever, which the original Battlefront had. Which I don't know why they didn't include it in like the PC version, which the PC version should be the most powerful one. But
Yeah, that's true.
so I understand why they couldn't do it, because it was an inferior version compared to the Xbox and the the PC. Maybe because I have a bias towards Xbox, that's why I'm giving PlayStation shit. So
Oh, so anyway, back to the Battle of Mon Calimari.
Yeah,
you guys go back to that.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
when the Mon Cali, what was it called?
Yeah, the Mon Calimari. When they're riding those eel things, they had like those laser lances.
Calamari and the
Yeah.
horns.
and that awesome music.
Oh, yeah, where they're playing the horns like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Another thing EU outsiders don't understand about this is that, again, that's like these little connections to everywhere else, because you see a lot of Quarrens in the Knights of the Old Republic 2 and elsewhere.
Oh yeah. And when I was younger, I didn't understand. Like, I was like, wait, how is Kit Fisto's lightsaber working underwater? Like, I was like, shouldn't it be extinguishing?
He
But
has
I
a
didn't. But during that time, I didn't know about like the special modifications he did to it.
Yeah.
In the Essential Guide to the Force, it kind of touches up on that, how he can, like how his lightsaber is kind of specially sealed so water doesn't get into the power packs or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just figured it was specialized. This is the things you look at when you're older and think, they'd probably just specialize. It goes without saying.
Yeah. I kind of think the TCW version of the Mon Calimari is better because it's a little bit longer, more expands on it.
Fair enough.
Make TCW as canon and propaganda when you can, so it can still exist within Legends. Just retcon it.
Yeah. Retcon the shit out of it.
What did you think of that one crab tank thing that like shoots that huge beam?
Really impressive. It's it's kind of like the giant bugs from Starship Troopers that could hit the ships on orbit. Like they could be like they can do that.
And I love first how he like disables the lasers and then finishes it off.
Can I bring up something about Mon Calimari?
Oh sure.
One thing I like is that I'm into character, sure, but I'm also into kind of a bit of the science, but also hardware when I go to other sci-fi. And what I like is that those acclimators land right on the water. That was so cool.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like
A lot of
almost
Star
they're like
Destroyers can do it too.
amphibious.
Did somebody left?
Yeah, Healthy Man had to go, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
your
that's-
thoughts on, you were going to say something about the acclimators landing on the water?
What?
Oh yeah, who's gonna say that?
Oh, I
Tab-
was just saying that Imperial Star Destroyers can do it too.
Yeah.
I mean, well, they are
Yeah.
1.6 kilometers in length. That's not totally crazy compared to some other ships out there.
Oh boy, in
Space-
sci-fi especially. I don't think I have anything else to say on the battle.
This is the thing. People complain about the over-the-top force powers, but those all were approved by locals. You know, Galen Merrick, where he dragged down the Star Destroyer, and then the novelization that he was guiding it in on, and that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with what happens to the Mon Calimari world in Dark Empire, that's another little connection. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to go on to Ventress's introduction.
Oh man, she was so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I was wondering who she was. Like she takes out that one like guy on there. This was on Ratatak, right?
When she was introduced first, yes.
Yeah,
But
so this was Ratatak.
It's a flashback. It doesn't take place at that exact time.
Yeah.
In the series, it seems like it does, and they probably wrote it that way, but it's been since retconned to make that her first encounter with Dooku to be like a month or two before the war.
Oh, that was a flashback. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Whoa. Wow.
That's kind of how seamless the EU was for TCW continuity-wise, because I read about the Nelvaan Labyrinth of Evil thing that it was retconned twice to say that, oh, they went to Tithe, then Nelvaan first, then Nelvaan, then Tithe, I think. Either one of the two.
Interesting.
Either way you do it, it can still work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love like
Evil itself goes back and forth between, okay, this is what Anakin and Obi-Wan are doing, and this is what Mace Windu is doing, and oh, this is what the Jedi protecting.
yeah.
Okay, we're
I
getting
love
a
all
bit-
the weird like diverse people like in the that one or like gladiator arena.
Yeah.
Like was there even a Wampa in there? Like I
Yeah,
saw?
it really looked like it, and I swear one of them was a Kalish, but it could be the another species that looks like him. Looks like it.
And also, I love how this scene like makes it clear that like not everyone who like is a dark sider is like automatically a Sith, because a lot of people just assume that.
I mean, Ventress says she is a Sith, but even Dooku laughs at that.
Yeah, he's just like, ha, 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 ha. A bold claim.
Yeah.
You wear
And
the
then-
trappings of the Sith. You fight like the Sith. However, this can be imitated. And then he said that like
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird
Sith
that
don't have fear.
it's really weird that Count Dooku floats.
Yeah,
Like
it was kind of like self-levitation.
yeah.
He kind
Like
of just glided down like he's Batman. We've seen Batman do that sometimes, where he just extends the cape and floats down.
Yeah, at least Count Dooku has a force, so it makes more sense than when Batman does it. Okay.
And then, of course, Dooku completely wrecks her.
Yeah. I
Um,
wonder her. Assajj is the first two lightsabers that Assajj has it. One of them is her original Jedi Master, right? Master.
in the comics,
Yeah.
that lightsaber was like on display, so it wasn't that. I think it was two lightsabers she made.
Well, one of the lightsabers was Kyneric's, and the other one was hers.
Yeah, that's what it read. And then, okay, when
So I guess she
Dooku
must have fixed Kyneric's later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also when Count Dooku gives Assajj the new lightsabers.
Yeah, those were Kamori Vosas, right?
Yeah, I watched the all the cutscenes from Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and and those were the same lightsabers.
Yeah. Consider it a gift.
Yeah.
Oh, is that all we want to say about Ventress's introduction? Do we go to the Mace stuff now, or is there still stuff to say?
Well, probably think there's not that much.
Yeah, it was pretty short too.
Yeah, just
Mace Windu on Dantooine.
Dantooine.
Oh.
Knights of the Old Republic and the Jedi Academy trilogy and A New Hope. It's just so many connections.
Yes.
yeah,
So,
and also Battlefront 3.
oh
It's
yeah.
one of the
was it Elite Squadron on PSP?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was that game.
I know it's called that, but I always will consider it a Battlefront 3.
Yeah, it was going to be. So anyway, yep. There's this farm boy who's like watching the battle. Like he's just like, oh.
That kind of reminded me of Jedi versus Sith when I saw it. No, really, it's like made me think of those three kids.
Derovit, Hardin, and Zona. Yeah, he kind of gave me a Derovit vibe. He kind of looked like him.
Yeah, and at the end of the episode, Mace Windu just flies right into him. All right.
Yeah, he's just like, boom, gives him the water, and then he just like
He
rushes off into battle again.
Yeah.
EU gave you such great respect for Mace Windu, what he was doing on his homeworld, Haran Kal, and what he was doing here. He's so cool.
Like, so many other people just love, because it's just like when he loses his lightsaber momentarily, like that really does show like the lightsaber does not make the Jedi.
Yeah, but it doesn't show like disrespectingly like the Last Jedi did.
Oh yeah, I could do that, Yukaphile.
Yeah.
And then he's just punching them and just like using telekinesis to like make them fall apart.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they did in Knights of the Old Republic too. I played that. Yeah, zap one goes. Just
I love how he just like it shows how powerful he can just like precisely dismantle every single bit of like bolts and stuff that like holds the B2 together, and it just goes falls apart, and then throws them.
Okay, there's some
where he smiles at the kid. That's very heartwarming. It's like something out of Lucas had great respect for the Easterners for their art, like Akira Kurosawa, true, but he mentioned anime and tons of other stuff.
Yeah. And then what else about the battle? I mean, I'm about to say Muunilist, but I'm like we already went over that.
Yeah.
It just it's kind of amusing to look at all this and realize what was happening thousands of years ago in Knights of the Old Republic era. That place was bombarded due to the maps to the Star Forge, and then
But yeah,
you know,
Malik, he destroyed it.
administrative problems. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it was really surprised to see the giant ship coming right in the middle of the battlefield, just boom.
Oh yeah,
Makes it-
Chad, what was the name of the tank again?
It's called a seismic tank.
Ah,
Yeah, makes it everyone flying flying.
and
Yeah.
and there's all the clones. They're like futilely just trying to shoot like at the big thing that goes thump. They're just so thick armored. And then
I hear that George actually wrote some episodes for Microseries. I don't know how accurate that is since it's online, but he never
As-
wrote an episode for TCW.
As far as I know, he didn't actually write any episodes for the microseries. However, him and Gendy would have lunch every now and then to talk about the show and what he wanted in the show. And if you watch the commentary, it's kind of funny because Gendy will point out which ideas were George's, and when he was talking with him about knighthood during the later episodes when they knight Anakin Skywalker, he went and asked George, he's like, oh, you probably have a million or so ideas on what you think the ceremony for knighthood would be. And he famously goes, no, not really.
To be honest, so it's just an internet rumor. To be honest, I could see him doing the same thing with Filoni and many others who were involved in every other corners of his empire. But at the same time, what I read about 4 trials. That was so cool. The 4 trials. That's great.
Yeah.
they do mention that kind of a bit later. Like,
Yeah.
Anything else to
Yeah.
say about Mace Windu?
I do have just one other thing. I think I already said that.
But it was just bad.
Wait, I do have something to say. How about what he did in the Jedi Apprentice books? I mean, those came earlier chronologically, but then he's doing this stuff in the Clone Wars, and it's why I miss the EU.
Yeah.
So next is Ilum.
Yeah.
We get to see Barriss constructing a lightsaber.
Oh my God, Ilum, Jedi Quest. Remember Anakin?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also Last of the Jedi, that by also by Jude Watson.
What I hear is that for Force Awakens, the planet they used that became Starkiller Base was Ilum, but they say it's 600 kilometers. I'm like, oh please, no planet is that small with that kind of gravity pull.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
And-
both Death Star and the Starkiller base run off of lightsaber crystals, so I can see how they would come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Kind of
just
makes sense a
size
little bit.
discrepancy. I get it, making it something like Unicron, Mogo, Ego, but it's just the size discrepancy bugged me.
Yeah. It's just weird. And the Starkiller base has I see trees, but the LM I see nothing. Only just snow.
It was
Yeah,
Dave
but one little inconsistency I didn't notice was that Ilum also had purple crystals in it in these episodes, even though like it was established that Ilum only makes like blue and
I
green
didn't see
Adigan crystals.
You know what that
Oh, what?
reminds me of?
I didn't see purple crystals when I watched it.
I did.
I wasn't really paying attention to the crystals. What made me think of was, again, I hate to be dead horse, but other parts of the EU, Knights of the Old Republic 2 on Dantooine, yeah, where you go into that cave, where those Kinrath and the mercenary and all that.
Oh yeah, I love that kid.
Yeah.
And there's also that like saying, like the crystal is the heart of the Jedi thing. You remember that? When she's constructing the lightsaber.
Oh boy,
And I think I remember like this was like my first introduction to like it gave me kind of insight to how lightsabers work a little bit. Because of course this was when I was not my like expanded universe knowledge wasn't the best when I first watched this as a kid, but
My EU knowledge is very weak compared to all of you.
yeah.
Well, I was.
Yeah.
I haven't read most of these. It was wiki browsing 2008 or fanfiction I was reading that I really liked. They're written than anything in Disney today, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about the when those droids are trying to sabotage everything. I love how like in unison they like fight, and it kind of like demonstrates like the bond between like the master and the apprentice. You know.
Yeah. It's so weird what happened to Sophie and TCW.
Oh boy, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, they lowered her age to Ahsoka's and then made her a bad guy.
Oh, you know what? The complaints people are making now on a larger, casual, mainstream level, what Mark Hamill said, is just that's totally consistent to what began a 12-year in 2008.
Yeah.
Really, fundamentally, no difference between Jake Skywalker and Quinlan Lebowski, as you call him, and I call her Bear's Coffee because she's very lukewarm compared to what came before.
Bear's
You should use that one, Tad.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's perfect.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's a missed opportunity that they even made a better Sophie. I don't know, was the seventh sister or
Yeah.
from
This is why I
from
think
Rebels.
this is why I think George was just handing over the reins because Bear's Coffee, I mean, Quinlan Voss, it's just there's really a characterization that carried over to the new stuff.
And George was cited as actually liking the character of Quinlan Voss because he did read he didn't read all of the comics, but he did read some of the comics. And
in fact, Lucas ordered the writers of the comics not to kill off Quinlan Voss because he wanted him in his Underworld show.
And Ron Moore was going to work on Underworld. What a missed opportunity. He was
man.
fine. I'll start. Can I say something about George Lucas here?
Yeah.
George admits he never read the novel. Well, he read some of them, it seems, but he didn't read most of them. And just hate when EU haters try to throw that in our faces. Oh, he never saw it as canon, but he never said canon, and he never went over his own hierarchy past, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Admits he tries to keep it consistent, but he also said it's not. It's part of his story, but it's not his story, and the same would apply to
it's Lucasfilms.
Canon is just him giving permission for Filoni to bash the lore and continuity and tell the story he wanted. I don't know why, but he did.
Yeah, T-Canon was basically Filoni's sandbox. So
that's what it was.
The authors had their own sandbox, and as long as it was consistent with George's sandbox, it was okay. And then Filoni had his own sandbox, where he didn't really listen to either, because it conflicts with both the movies and the EU.
Yeah.
In one of your videos, you mentioned Karen Traviss being shoved out. I think that was around the same time Matt Stover also left, and I tend to think that it wasn't George who was responsible for that. He gets so much hate, especially back then. I think it was certain elements of the licensing department and how they were interacting with Filoni and his team, and it's just like there are all these factions and underlings battling as he moved a bit further away from Star Wars. And
I just love how we just keep. Just finish Yukaphile.
Yeah, let's get back to the Microseries.
I just wanted to say I love how we keep throwing jabs at Filoni and TCW.
Yeah. Hey, what's the background noise, Kyle?
The background noise? That's just my speakers, but I'm playing a video game while we talk. I'm playing Halo.
He makes it so easy though with how he talks. It's just like it's just so insulting. It's the tone. Ryan said it best. I mean, has issues, but he said it best. It's I know more than you. Sit down and shut up. You're an idiot. That's how he talks to you.
But in truth, he knows nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he just likes the fame and the attention, and it's why he's not gonna accept if they put him up into the Lucasfilm chair. Well, maybe a chance to do whatever story he wants to, but there is the downside in that the bulk of the criticism George got and Kennedy's getting now would blow over onto him, and I don't think he'd want that.
Oh, hey guys, we're getting a little bit off topic.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
back to the Microseries.
Yeah, it's weird to see Freepo still not having his gold plating this soon, but it's just a small nitpick from me. In TCW, it makes more sense why he already has the gold plating.
I don't know. I think it ties into the two movies, and I read the episode 3 novel, and it watching the microseries like this, it felt like it connected to the novel, even if there was the odd snarl here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's much more we can say about Ilum, but
Yeah, okay.
Anakin versus Assajj Ventress.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. First of all, is that R2, not R2, R4, R4 blows up, even though he's still alive in Revenge of the Sith, where he gets his head chopped off by Buzz Droids. Wait, are they the same R4s or are they different?
I think they're different.
It's easy to they're both R4, and it's easy to retcon that because they're droids. So the R4 could have been rebuilt.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since this takes place in Yavin 4, I could imagine some rebel scouts discovering dead clone trooper armor just lying around.
I think it's a different droid with a different model. I mean, there is that
Who
kind of
knows?
Yeah.
me about this battle. No talking at all. It's just people complained about the prequels that there's so little talking, but I like that. It's just like
Yeah, like there's so much weight to their attacks,
you can feel the hate,
and you could already just feel the rivalry between them.
Episode 3 novel brings this up. When Dooku slid into the room when they were rescuing Palpatine, he mused to himself that he thought after Ventress the dark side would be hot. Oh.
Do any of you think when they first entered the Yavin Temple, like the water dripping almost kind of seemed like Darth Vader's breathing to me just a little bit? Like I don't know, I was kind of getting
make that connection before, but that is actually really cool. If they were intended to do that, and even if they didn't, that's still a cool connection.
I just like how we got to see Yavin.
Yeah, I already said that, but I kind of imagine rebel scouts stumbling upon some dead clone trooper armor.
Well, maybe the jungle would have like caused it to all, deteriorate. Deteriorate.
Yeah, but plastic deteriorates really slowly.
It's not plastic though. It's a compound material called plasteel.
Plasteel, yeah.
I probably believe it could last more than 10
Might
years.
be able to.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of where they go battling there. It almost reminds me of in Path of Destruction book, the Darth Bane novel, where I think it's Cassim. He's coming to that world, Lihan.
Yeah, with where the Starforge was.
To retrieve Bane, and they fight. It's almost the same vibe. You get that same vibe.
Yeah, and I kind of like that this show utilizes the force speed a lot in
all the physical augmentation abilities.
Yeah,
using force, yo.
Okay, in in the Phantom Menace, it kind of looked really ridiculous, but in here, it really fits it. Yeah. And my other thing is like the end of the fight when Assajj Ventress falls and
He gets disarmed, then he grabs her, squeezes
Yeah.
one of her arms with his prosthetic,
yeah,
pushes her back, and then hammers on her.
And then he
Yeah.
screams when she falls.
yeah. It's I don't know how the hell she survived that. Maybe she grabbed one of the rock.
Explanation anywhere?
Yeah, because it was late in the production of the Clone Wars multimedia project. I think this, again, like I said, set the siege for TCW, except on a very smaller scale. If you can see her falling and survive, you could maybe say the same about Maul. It's stretching it further, but it's still in the same ballpark.
With Ventress, at least she wasn't chopped in half or beheaded. We
Very
just see
Yeah.
her fall, and we don't see her hit the bottom.
Yeah, it's
So
the same.
it
People
leaves
try to
it
bring
open-ended.
up how like supposedly Splinter of the Mind's Eye killed Darth Vader, but he just fell. Like we
Yeah.
didn't see a body.
Conceivably, she could have just jumped as she went further down, saw a ledge, and just jumped,
Or
force
grabbed a vine or a rock or something.
Speaking of
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to bring up, anyone notice? What I liked is how Ventress is just like a silent stalking killer, like a predator taking out all the clones. Anakin turns his head and it looks just like episode 3. This head and those yellow eyes.
And didn't like he use like Force Scream after like the battle,
Yeah.
something like that. Oh, and one thing I noticed is like in this, in the Clone Wars multimedia project, like Assajj Ventress was just a dark Jedi, but like in TCW they made her like a full-on secret Sith apprentice.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of. It's weird how Ventress dies, quotation marks. First time she dies in this. Second time she dies in Republic when Anakin again force pushes off a cliff, and the next time she dies. Well, not really. She
She goes
wakes
into
up-
like a trance after she gets like shot, and then she escapes.
Yeah, I think that was really cheap. What if did they follow upon that?
No.
They actually didn't. We have no idea what happened to Ventress.
Maybe
Or
she.
Alpha 17, because he was with her.
Maybe they met Obi-Wan at Tatooine, or Starkiller killed them.
Who knows?
Really a missed opportunity for Force Unleashed not to make a one DLC level where Starkiller fights Assajj Ventress,
Oh, that would be cool.
And I
or
bring
at
up-
least, or better, Darth Vader.
So yeah, Anakin wins. But I love how like as they're fighting, there's like clothes are getting so torn and ragged. He comes back, and he admits that like he shouldn't have fought that fight because it was a trap.
and bring up something. This is probably another reason people derisively call it Dragon Ball Z Star Wars, since the clothes get ripped like they're true, but there's seemingly people coming back from death all the time. I mean, Frieza returns multiple times in Dragon Ball. I mean, and he was cut in half and left near dead on an exploding planet too. So I guess the irony being that this is TCW fans complaining about this. That it's like Dragon Ball Z with Maul coming back.
And now we get to General Grievous.
Oh, I've been waiting to get to this part. So, like this Jedi, I believe his name is Dockman Barrick. Is that right?
Yeah, he's named after the supervising director of the show.
And he was Shaggy's master, I think.
Yes.
So anyway,
yes, I know.
they get a distress call from Master Barrick, and all of a sudden his just like his communication is kind of like scratchy, so you don't hear everything he says. But then you see him cross lightsabers with someone, and then stomp on his communicator.
Oh, it's like reboots, late season 3, Return to Mainframe, and Matrix Duels Megabyte. He's hanging over the edge and he's unconscious, and you can hear the stomping getting louder.
Like already, like this guy is like he's not saying any words, and he's just so intimidating. And then
It was so hardcore, and it's like multimedia project expanded that he actually said to one of his generals when he was holding that kid, open fire, and then episode 3 novel paints him as like this ruthless monster.
And then so we have the Jedi survivors, which we have Kiadi Mundi, Shakti, Ayla, Skura, Kakruk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shaggy, and what was the name of the other?
I used to know Kiadi's apprentice. I forget his name.
Oh, that guy was named Tarsair. I believe that's what his name
Along
was.
those lines.
Yeah.
And they're just like commenting about how they've never been like this outmatched before. And it looks like they've already been fighting maybe for like hours against these droids within the wreckage. Like whatever happened, like they're not in a good place.
Yeah.
And then Grievous.
Oh.
What?
I was gonna say, in continuity, it's established that the Republic fleet that was sent to go invade Hypori ended up hitting mines, and then a lot of the ships crash landed on the surface, and that's why there's like that acclimator graveyard.
Yeah, and there's 0 clone troopers.
And all of them got completely devastated. Only the Jedi are left.
Speaking of General Grievous, I read the episode 3 novel, and it has been just a little bit since I've read it. Wasn't Grievous's design based intentionally on those ancient type of war droids? I forget what type it was called.
The Krath war droids.
Ooh.
Well,
And so yeah, Grievous comes in, he gives a little speech, and all you hear afterwards is like footsteps, and the Jedi are getting so nervous, especially Shaggy.
and then he screams, he runs, and gets stomped. Right dead in his tracks.
And it's just like, oh.
I'm sure this is a moment Tad's gonna love. Who comes to the rescue? Who else? The Captain Fordo's team.
Oh, we'll get to that. Like,
Muunilist 10.
as a kid, when he's just like fighting all these Jedi, and the music and his blades are going like, like, oh.
I ask you guys this: who else would like to see like a Star Wars anime? You know, not really into Japanese excesses, but like animated that way, like this maybe, like Yu Yu Hakusho back in the day. That was greatly animated.
Would be cool. And yeah, I just like, despite he's saying barely anything, he was so mysterious, so intimidating. Like, I wanted to know more about him. Like,
And
I became
he's
obsessed with Grievous.
yeah,
Like,
me
I even
too.
wondered, like, is he even Force sensitive? And of course, didn't know much, so
Seems
Well, he's sort of force sensitive, or at least Count Dooku wanted him to be.
yeah,
Since they
like they
used-
tried to give him like Sifo-Dyas's like a blood transfusion to help him survive like the surgery.
Yeah,
sort
there's kind of like a what if potential for that, which I'm gonna kind of explore. But for now, I really like General Grievous's backstory. It's like Vader's, but really different.
Yeah, but
some of the episode 3, or I think it was called the Star Wars tech documentary, they said that he was the proto Vader. He was the beta version, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like some of
For
like the
me-
lung technology too.
Yeah.
And
Grievous
like
again.
I forgot we kind of mentioned it a little bit. You know, like how like prequel haters complain about like no dialogue during the fights. Like this fight and the Assajj Ventress fight, it literally disproves like that typical stuff from like Plinkets. Because
You literally cannot win with these prequel haters because let me give you 2 examples. They were first were the people who complained of seeming racism in episode 1, but then they turned and claimed the same thing for Attack of the Clones when George was trying to make concessions to them like Jar Jar, and then what you just said here, there's too much dialogue and people get upset by that, but then when there's no dialogue they get upset by that too.
yeah, because like the music, like the sounds and everything, like I'm invested in the fight. Like he doesn't need to talk to be intimidating. Like he did a little bit, but
Oh man, I can't wait till we get to the Battle of Coruscant because what Grievous does there is just so amazing.
I love
Yeah.
how like he fights with like his feet too during this part.
Well, he
Like
was-
Yeah.
especially when like Ki-Adi-Mundi is like the only person left.
Yeah, this
So
was
I
like
heard that they retconned. Yeah, they had to retcon Kakrook's death. Like he went into like a,
Force trance.
and he
Yeah.
also had a lot of thick blubber or something that saved him. You know what's
Yeah.
funny is in Dark Times they actually, when he was shirtless, they show like the scars. So that was like a really good attention to detail there.
You know what
Well,
I was gonna say earlier that I could say now? It's Grievous seems comparable to a Tri-Fighter because episode 3 novel they said they operate at a percentage. No, it's a respectable fraction of the speed of light, and that seems like Grievous all over.
His augmentation definitely allows him to move faster than he would before his cybernetics.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. Dooku looked down on him. The 3 novel makes that clear. He considers him a hideous creature, and it's like he couldn't feel. He could feel borderline emotions, but not really.
I heard that
Yeah.
they like purposely put something in him to like enhance his rage.
Yeah, make
Something
him
like
hate
that.
Jedi, make him hate Jedi and the Republic even more than he did.
Even TCW fans I know say that, who've seen the Microseries, say that Grievous was much cooler there, or much more dangerous, or much more badass.
He
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, there was one YouTuber that said about TCW Grievous. He's like, he's not as badass as the clone, the 2003 one, but he's way more menacing than the Revenge of the Sith one, which is a little bit stupid because I prefer Grievous's in Revenge of the Sith than in TCW,
Oh,
especially with the design.
Yeah. Oh, so then the ARC troopers come to rescue them, and they have some really cool weapons. Like, I think this was the first time I got to see that like chain gun blaster. Like, that was. And then there was another clone who had like this quad cannon.
Yeah.
we already passed over that scene. How about the scene? In one of your videos, you were talking about Tad about that wolf and thing, dude. I think we passed
Oh,
him.
Volufman. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
part of a contest on StarWars.com, and people could vote in who they wanted to see in the finale of the first season of the Clone Wars microseries. And he won, but he was only really shown for a couple seconds. But it's what they had to work.
Pretty cool.
It was real interesting that they even had that contest because it felt like they breakneck speed this series in a good way, like they didn't have time for contests or something.
For me, wish I paid more attention to it. Back then I was like 16. The only thing I really had EUIs back then was Survivor's Quest, which I didn't read, and the episode 3 novel, which I reread consistently up till like 5 years later, and didn't pay attention. I wish I had back then. I like it now. I'm gonna rewatch it, definitely.
Okay. What's the next? Well, we have finished volume 1.
Yep.
Now volume 2.
So next, it's kind of like Anakin's knighting and the in-between stuff that happens.
Yeah.
There is a continuity glitch, a minor one between here and the episode 3 novel, which I guess you could overlook because George admitted he didn't read the novels because he's a visuals guy, but
Yeah.
it implies that R2 came out of the closet and that he and Padme were in the same room, and then the Microseries, it implies he just sends R2 to him, or he sends the braid to her.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And one thing in between the stories, the Wolfman Jedi's attack, and some other Jedi are attacked by these droids, and for some fucking reason they're captured by entering a fucking bubble.
Oh, we'll
Which
talk
is-
about that in between stuff.
Oh, that
Yeah.
reminds me of, again, Dragon Ball Z. I have watched it, so when people insult it,
Yeah.
when Goku's fighting Frieza on Namek, and he crafts him in this kind of ping pong
Yeah,
pinball bubble and shoots him around.
There was a little
You-
inconsistency
you know
right there
why-
because, like,
You know,
Saisi-
I've seen Dragon Ball Z, right? So
No.
You're not the only person here that's seen DBZ.
Oh, I'm not saying I am. It's just, people who say that, they mean it insultingly.
Yeah.
so yeah, there was one inconsistency. Like, Saisi Teen had like a red blade.
What do you mean in the show?
Oh, was it Saisi Teen? Yeah, during that scene where like Anakin's like
I
the
was-
in between stuff.
I don't remember a red lightsaber blade.
I do.
I always pronounced it Sacy 10.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And with Anakin's knighting, did you notice that Mace Windu wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a purple lightsaber.
I think he probably was at a battle.
Or he really didn't want Anakin to be knighted.
Where
Heard
does
that explanation too. Like
does
he was kind
where
of.
does that fit chronologically, Tad, the knighting? You said it's 2 years, but what else was taking place around that time?
I don't know what Mace Windu would have been doing around that time, but Gendy kind of talks about that in his commentary.
What did
on,
he say?
Well, so he said it was just kind of like a lazy mistake because with the second season they were like really pressured to finish it before episode 3 released. So they kind of copied and pasted lightsaber colors. So
Oh yeah, so they
that's
didn't.
the reason why Mace Windu isn't there. But Paul Rudish interjected because the commentary in Volume 2, it's not just Gendy, it's Paul Rudish and Derek Bachman are both present as well. And Paul Rudish interjects and he says, it could be also because, maybe Mace Windu didn't approve of the idea of
Yeah,
Anakin being united, which kind of fits into their relationship in the
it
movie.
really does.
I bring up something.
Yeah,
Sure.
like what I said.
The episode 3 novel, it kind of goes both ways. It's a certain point of view thing. He supported Obi-Wan training him, but he didn't want him to be a master. So you could look at it either way.
Yeah.
And they made the decision because they just needed more knights.
Yeah, but
trained and all that.
unlike TCW, they did this 2 years later, and it took them a long time to warm up to him, to at least give him a chance. And there's still tension. Episode 3 novel, which TCW, even from what I hear, just didn't capture that well.
In TCW, he's just a knight. There's no explanation to how he got there, or
He was just knighted. There you have. There you go.
What I love most is the 4 trials. That really impressed me. Just trial of skill, trial of flesh,
flesh.
trial of courage, and trial of spirit. Those are.
I love how you said like they described it as like facing the mirrors.
Trial of the flesh sounds the most brutal because
See,
people have been maimed or killed in the past by it. I read.
Lucas had a trial of the mirror. Well, even Galen Merrick actually had a trial of the mirror before.
It's a
remember
common
that.
trope in Star Wars media where characters going through Jedi training have to have their own Dagobah cave scene.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that the Dagobah scene, does it take place during Phantom Menace?
I think it looked like it was just a vision to Yoda.
I'm pretty sure it's just a vision. I don't
Yeah.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Can I talk a bit more about the original trilogy here with what they showed, the Jedi trials, the 4 of them? I think.
What the?
Well, I think we see the 4 trials play out with Luke. Trial of skill by the Empire Strikes Back. He had a lot of skill. Trial of the flesh. Vader cut off his hand. Trial of courage. He had to face his fear and he chose to die. Trial of spirit. He didn't give in to the dark side. That's what I see there. That's, I think, what Gendy and his crew probably saw.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they wanted to draw parallels.
Yeah.
And Matt Wilkins brought up something. Oh, that's for later though. Battle of Nelvaan. So never mind.
Yeah. 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 If I jumped ahead a bit, I apologize as well.
Oh, it's okay.
We're all.
And then they also kind of showed like I said, like Anakin's feats as a knight, and he's just like being badass. And then they also showed like the Separatists, like what they're doing, and it kind of gets like the implication that they're kind of like winning, and the Republic is struggling. Because isn't that what happened?
The Republic was losing the war for a majority of it. It wasn't until the Outer Rim sieges where they started to push back.
Yeah.
During the second year of the war, Grievous had pushed so far into the core that everybody was worried he was going to go invade Coruscant.
And he did. Can I ask you something, Tad? In your videos, you mentioned the Battle of Jabim. I know it's a bit off topic. You maybe want to talk about that because it sounds intriguing. One of their worst losses.
Well, yeah, it was. The Battle of Jabim is kind of. It's awful in many ways. It's awful from a political standpoint, and it's awful from a war standpoint, because basically Jabim had been pleading to the Republic for help since the beginning of the war, when the Separatists first started occupying the world. And it wasn't until they found out that Jabim, underneath all the mud and crud, had valuable ore,
He did it
that
because
the
of that.
Republic started becoming interested. And that's why they sent... And, like, they didn't have enough clone troopers, because Grievous going into the core and everything, they didn't have enough supplies, and it was just doomed from the start.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, he's even mentioned the Episode 3 novel.
Yeah, it's mentioned constantly in the Episode 3 novel. It keeps... in the Episode 3 novel, as Anakin goes further and further to the dark side, Matthew Stover references Jabim, Argonar, Muunilist, a lot more. Because Jabim was so traumatic for Anakin, because that's where he thought his master had died. But in truth, he was just captured by Assajj Ventress and taken to her castle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He's so fear of loss.
Yeah.
Attachment.
He had fear of loss of Padme, fear of loss of Obi-Wan, because those are the 2 most important people in his life. And I think the Clone Wars show did a good job in showing that.
Very much
Alright.
so.
Alright, what's next?
Alright, let's talk about Nelvaan.
That's what says the
Alright,
battle.
let's move on a little faster, though.
Yeah.
We're almost finished.
Let's try to stay just a little bit more on topic.
Okay. We're talking about Nelvaan, right?
Yeah, where they go to, because there's reports
Yes.
of Grievous being there.
Yeah, but actually, it's just a trick. It's just a trap. All right.
Oh,
Yeah, fun fact. Now, you know that Nelvaan is named after that Canadian studio that made the first two Star Wars cartoons, Star Wars
is
Droids
that
and
in
Star Wars
reference to
Ewok.
that?
Yeah,
That makes
and
sense.
Nelvaan also did the animated segment for the holiday special.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
with Boba Fett and like 2
Yeah.
seconds later?
Yeah, it's
You know, the Nelvaan, they kind of remind me of like the Na'vi just a little bit from Avatar.
Even yeah,
They're supposed to be related to Bothans.
Oh, really?
Boffins.
Yep.
Boffins. What were they?
Oh, they were those big furry things, that look kind of like, I don't know what you could call them, but they look a bit dog-like, I guess, or wolf-like.
Boffins.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information. Them.
Oh yeah, those ones. They
And what was
kinda-
the name
they
of that
got-
one creature that was attacking the clones in Anakin? Was it a Gorgodon? A what?
Horax.
Horak.
Can I say something?
Well-
Nelvaan, while I appreciate it, kind of confused me. You have to go rewatch it to understand what they were doing, because a lot of it is subtle. You have to look for it deeper. And
Yeah, I think the first time I watched it, I understand what it was, especially with that cave scene.
But yeah, the cave scene is easy to understand. I'm talking about like what they're doing here with these cybernetics, why they're doing it, and with this particular species. That kind of confused me.
Yeah, and I really didn't like what. Jesus Christ, that experiment, those male Nelvaanians. Oh, good lord.
But
I remember Grey Jedi 91 in the Finalysis review of this. He was just like, he described it as like, oh, I'm in Dracula's castle and this crazy experiment.
the
Something like
Nelvaan
that.
experiments, the way they were, the thematic underlying they had, the intent kind of reminded me of, again, Lucas's respect for Easterners, the old or Birdie the Mighty OVAs. I really like those, and I felt the same here. I just think I wish I knew what they were doing more.
With the Techno Union, you see a lot of this in the Clone Wars multimedia project. The Techno Union they do all these experiments, and throughout the multimedia project, they've tried and tried again with different droid mixed with biological technology to try to win the war. In the game, The New Droid Army, that was about Anakin Skywalker foiling a Techno Union plot to create Cortosis battle droids.
Oh, I have that game on GBA.
They were basically lightsaber-proof super battle droids.
Oh
And
yeah.
They
It
unleashed them on the Jedi Temple. And then,
they could get-
Cestus Deception, they try to make a Jedi-killing bio-droid called the JK Killer. I forget what the name of the actual droid was, but Obi-Wan and Kit Fisto are sent to put those down. So
yeah, I have that book, but I haven't read it yet.
Can you imagine if they could have ever weaponized Cortosis battle droids? Oh my god!
they tried, but Anakin shut it down.
But if they succeeded, if
Yeah.
If they succeeded, it would have
Yeah.
been GG. That was probably their best idea.
Ye-
But the Techno Union throughout the war is constantly looking for this Trojan horse idea that's just going to bring the downfall of the Republic.
And
Because
they always
Yeah.
end up getting foiled. So
at this point in the
Well-
war, during the Nelvaan arc, the Separatists are losing. The Republic has pushed them back to the Outer Rim.
Aegis.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think Palpatine was deliberately didn't want Techno Union to create the Cortosis battle droids.
Oh yeah, because he
Yeah.
wanted them to lose in the end, then blame them for the war, and then take over their home worlds.
and also, wasn't the whole Nelvaan thing also purposely to get like Anakin and Obi-Wan away?
Yes. Same with
Yeah.
Type.
Oh, because they were chasing Dooku there, weren't they? Because in Labyrinth of Evil, they were investigating the second Sith based off Newt Gunray's chair.
Yeah. So with how I see it interconnecting with the Episode 3 novel is that they were sent to Nelvaan first to kind of like in between them looking for Dooku. They were sent to Nelvaan because like, oh, General Grievous is here. You should, go there. And then after the Nelvaan arc is, I believe, when Tithe happens.
Fuck.
I mean, Mace Windu's words to them kind of don't back that up, but there is just a little wriggle room, and I think that's how it was originally. But then everyone's favorite Pablo Hidalgo retcon that. I think did it the other way.
Pablo Hidalgo. Yeah.
I have a statement somewhere from Leland Chi where he kind of puts his 2 cents in, and I trust Chi over Hidalgo because he actually has respect for the source material, where Pablo just kind of is an ass.
Regardless of meanings, he called Old Republic fans Trump voters on his Twitter, and it's just that's meant to be an insult. He's insulting you. He's horrible.
Yeah.
He even said on his Twitter not to believe anything he says on there.
At match.
Yeah. All right.
Another reason to ignore the new essential thing and like do your own thing. One thing I've wanted to do is get from the Plagueis novel and kind of write the original Maul scene where Sidious met Maul. I could do it. I just need to know what my word count.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting off topic again.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the vision? Like,
that was beautiful. That was excellent.
Oh yeah. Like I always didn't. You remember there was like, I always did kind of like connect it to Anakin too.
Yeah. I think it was the point. Like at the end, it showed Vader, or something similar to it.
I had always interpreted like there was like 2 Nelvaan females that are getting like attacked. Like I always thought one of them represented like Anakin's mother, and then the one that escaped was like Padme.
Oh, I didn't see. I need to rewatch. What I like best is what Matt Wilkins brought up, where he uses the dark side to beat these enemies. You can see it. What does he get? Praise. He's a hero. It ties in.
Hokazet, ghost hand.
Yeah, that sums
We'll get to that in a sec.
So is this a good time to go to Battle of Coruscant, or is there still more stuff to say?
Well, I think. Okay, what do you think about the what the techno unit were doing to the male?
Boy, that was
yeah. Why the fuck?
horrifying. But they did look kind of goofy too.
Well, they look pretty. I don't know. They look like they straight out of Samurai Jack.
Oh, is Jenny Gardkowski off?
If the guy that was making this. Okay, sorry. I had to. Sorry, it's just a joke.
I didn't get it. What? Okay, what? All right. At the end of it, I don't know who said it.
I love when they see, the destroyed prosthetic hand, and then they all symbolically rip off like those weapon cybernetic things.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh wow, I never noticed that. It makes sense. One thing I brought up to you, Iron, recently is that either iRobot was ripping this off, or they were ripping off iRobot, where he slides down the tower and reaches in. It reminds me of the movie.
They could have been inspired by that.
It kind of looks like, but not really. Like it's kind of same, but not really. Yeah. And at the end, yeah. All right, continue.
You're gonna say more Yukaphile?
Okay.
I think that's all I can think about for the Nelvaan part.
Okay. One thing I would say about the ending is when Anakin says, will they go back to their old selves? And Obi-Wan says, "You guys know what he did, what he said, right?"
Oh, I don't remember the exact words.
Yeah, something like that. And I always wonder what what happened after. I probably believe this isn't the only Nelvanian tribe. There's probably somewhere else.
Oh, that's true. I'd imagine this would have like a huge effect on their culture for like centuries. This
For me,
Yeah.
Fun fact is actually during that whole thing, didn't like Anakin see like a little mini vision of Vader?
Yeah.
oh yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. It basically was that. And for me, probably that experimental thing what happened to them, it kind of degraded their aging, so they probably passed away faster than they should have been.
And at first, like they didn't recognize, the warriors, all the men.
Yeah.
Like it took like that little kid to like say like "daddy" in his language to recognize, and then they all
I
accepted
think it was a
them.
girl. I'm not sure.
Anakin uses a dark side, and he's a hero, and it actually works. That's what makes it easy to rationalize it later on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When he crushed that bastard in pieces, like, yeah, using his own respirator as his own death.
Yeah.
Crushing him with his ghost hand.
Oh, cause
Oh, Gazette. Okay, now let's get to Coruscant.
Yes! Can
oh
I
yeah, we're
Come on.
here.
once again bring up Knights of the Republic 2, the Ithorian Elos Restoration Project, and then this shows just what they can do. And this is how they were holding off the mercenaries till the Exiles crew could get back to them. It's just like that makes sense because they were pacifists.
Yeah. I'm really confused about Yoda's Tauntaun or
No,
that creature.
It's not a tauntaun.
It really looks like one.
It's meant to invoke parallels.
Oh, what was the name of that creature?
I can't pronounce it, but I know the name of it.
Oh, Google it.
Has it appeared in somewhere else? Like
No,
I-
I think they just used it as a way for Yoda to be able to get around the battlefield more quickly, because in the movies he uses a cane or he has that little hover chair.
yeah.
And in the episode 3 novel, they say he's advanced age and his lack of mobility makes it a bit hard for him.
Yeah. So
So
I
you-
believe
you have to
they
use
used
the
that
Force
as
to
the
get
mount
around.
as a way for him to get around on the battlefield more quickly, because in the show you see him having to go from one place to another to assist in the defense.
Yeah. But that doesn't stop him from flipping all the droidicas, so they crash into vulture droids, or push
Oh,
back
that was cool.
push the tanks back into the carrier. Yeah. Even then, even if he's old age, he could really fuck shit up.
Oh, definitely.
Yoda was so cool.
Yeah, like that was like one of the most impressive Force feats I've like seen, at least especially back then. Lifting several and then smashing them together, and then pulling them down from the sky and smashing them together.
How about Grievous and his Magna Guards in the movie and in the novel? It's just appearance, just so cool. Just how
I remember when I was younger, I called the electro staff like fart sticks. 'Cause it
Fart
sounded like-
sticks?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ, they don't even sound like that.
oh god.
Good lord. Alright. Okay. One of the Jedi. Okay, what was that called again? The one that could destroy, have that strong lungs.
It was an Ithorian. I think his name was Roron Korob. Was that his name?
Roran Karab, and then the Touts was Foul Mudana.
Yeah.
I love the Ithorians, what they were doing in Knights of the Old Republic 2 Telos, and Telos, another connection. The Jedi Apprentice books, Xanatos. It's so great.
And we showed really how relentless General Grievous is. Also,
yeah.
that's something interesting. Like when they're in that elevator, one of the clone troopers opens a shoots a rocket.
Yeah, he shoots the rocket launcher right through the glass at the.
And doesn't. Okay, I probably believe that rocket launcher would have is strong enough to break the glass without exploding right in their faces.
No, maybe it was like like you could control when it explodes. It's like remote
Something.
detonated.
Remote detonated rocket launcher. That's okay. That sounds plausible in Star Wars.
I mean, yeah, you could do that with the Mirsan missile thing in the Jedi Knight games. Of course, that's game mechanics, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be surprised if you could do that.
Okay, another. Okay. Okay. Then they ran when the two American guns are in their way. They jumped and left the two clone troopers to die.
Well, they were doing what
Yeah.
they had to do. Which
Not
was
much they can do for
Yeah.
them. They get out
Yeah.
of there.
Chancellor.
Yeah.
Everybody was just following orders.
Following order.
I like the episode 3 novel a bit, where Anakin wants to go back, save, was it Squad 5? And he said, you can't save everyone and you have to get on with the mission.
Yeah. So they're in the train station.
There was like a
But-
random chainsaw noise in the office while the door was closed, while he was just like massacring all the troopers. You remember that? Just random chainsaw noise.
No, I didn't hear that.
Oh man.
Okay. And one thing, okay, that when they were trained, and when Grievous was closing in on Shakti and Palpatine, Shakti used Force Matters to tie Grievous' cape to the train, and when she activated the train, Grievous just
subtle.
push. We got just stick out. And there he goes.
And that was a little too silly, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was really silly. Like Samurai Jack levels of silly.
No, it's brilliant strategy, but silly as in like, oh, that was a little ridiculous. Brilliant
Yeah.
strategy, but just ridiculous over the top.
Oh yeah.
Those were the maglev mentioned in
Move on
Labyrinth.
from that.
Yeah, and then when they finally revealed like Grievous's 4 arms, like I was just like, what?
What the Yeah.
Oh, we're almost done. We
Okay.
gotta keep on track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, like-
Yeah, Shakti fights off all the Magna Guards. Well,
yeah,
not
and she
really.
like dual wields like the Electro Staff and her saber.
And then she didn't kill all of them, but she did
But-
realize that.
She
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have done that too, because
Continue. I want to know why.
Because when Foul and his name's slipping my mind again. Yeah, the Ithorian,
Oh.
like with they're separated, like he's just able to take them out. And what else?
Yeah.
And also like Grievous noted that she was tired, like fighting off all of them exhausted her.
Yeah.
So Grievous was able to easily grab her when she attacked.
Yeah. And okay. If that one deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith was canon, Grievous would have took Shakti and shown her as an example to Anakin and Obi-Wan as
Of
he
course,
kills her.
most of the deleted scenes are non-canon, so
Yeah, but there's some that should be, like the origins of the rebellion and
yeah, that stuff like that, kind of cool. But so anyway,
Moving on.
yeah.
you guys also remember Mace Windu taking over the
Yeah.
Vulture droid?
Yeah.
Like,
Control-
you know, reading the Callista trilogy, there was this like one of the Emperor's hands, her son was like she was training him as like a dark Jedi, and he had the ability to kind of like read schematics, and he could like control technology with the Force. It kind of reminded me of that just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we get the origin of why Grievous coughed.
Oh yeah, Mace. You could believe Mace Windu was the one who does it.
Given his skill and strength.
And then he crushed Mace crushed his lungs, and now he started to cough. I swear I heard that Grievous coughing. You know the Lucas. You know that the Grievous's cough was actually the George's. I swear I heard that one in.
At least the idea was definitely his, because he was
Weird
like,
to think about.
he had a really bad cough.
Yeah.
So yeah, then Grievous escapes, and like I said earlier, when I was younger, I was just like, "Oh my god, what happens next?" And then, of course, as we all know, it was a lead into Revenge of the Sith.
Which is, yeah.
Well,
There's also that when clone troopers took over a separatist ship, and then
With
controls to destroy another ship. But I don't understand
He was
why
like,
they have
"Time to
their
get a new ship."
Did anyone mention the
yeah.
Space Troopers? I really like the Space Troopers. They've been elsewhere in the EU and they appeared right here. Flew right over to the Earthship and
Yeah. They I kind of interesting that there aren't many those smaller ships, maybe because this was made before Revenge of the Sith was came out, so they probably haven't had one really good one design of a separatist ship, and it's the Invisible Hand. I forgot what the name was about.
Yeah, it was the Invisible Hand. But I think it was called a Providence class.
Providence could be that. And
so
yeah,
kind of running
yeah.
out of things to say.
Okay,
Well, moving
okay.
on to the ending, actually. The fact that literally it just leads straight into episode 3 solidly without having to like make any like extra scenes or like I don't know what TCW was doing, but
Well,
and
okay.
it just goes straight to episode 3 and then done.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Like
Yeah.
nothing else, just done. Like
Yeah.
I like the movie. It's the novel I prefer. So that to me, while it could lead into episode 3, and it does, and that's great. To me, what I like best is that it leads right into the novel. Because how Grievous he's described as ruthless, and here come Anakin and Obi-Wan and all that.
Okay.
The
Interesting
series,
enough.
I just love how you can kind of watch it as like a 2-hour movie. It's just
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah, remove some scenes and it really feels like a movie that stands between episode 2 and 3. I kind of
Yeah.
seem like Gendy Tarkas's style is used in was used in some other, like in a manga that takes place after Revenge of the Sith. I don't know. It was maybe before the Disney buyout. And
Are you talking about the Clone Wars Adventure books?
No. Yeah, that also. but there was also a manga, or it was a comic that had
Aware of
that the,
manga.
that had the similar style to the 2003 one. And then there's the Transformer Star Wars crossover.
Oh, I
which
remember
was-
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
and they're
so anyway,
and the drawings are
Getting
really
a little too off
remote.
topic here, dude.
Yes, I know.
yeah, this really should be on Disney Plus for people to enjoy. And
Yeah,
I guess the reason why is because
I would also
I just want to point out the reason why it's not on Disney Plus is because Disney shuns Legends basically, and this is seen as Legends. So
It also is, I believe, still technically owned by Cartoon Network.
yeah, that's
Dude.
another thing to point out.
so
If there's
Yeah.
a agreement that they can't show it or something like that, I don't know.
yeah, so technically, Cartoon Network could post it somewhere, but
No, they
Disney
can't.
owns Star
Yeah.
Wars. They
Disney
can't
owns
post
Star
it
Wars, dude.
either.
yeah.
yeah, but man,
So
I was thinking
basically,
about doing some kind of petition to get released on Disney Plus and Blu-ray, because I really
Petitions will
hope.
not do anything.
No, no.
Yeah.
they don't do shit.
Petitions wouldn't like get someone to move a rock. So
I mean,
petitions
that-
don't do anything.
That fan petition to remove Last Jedi, that was never going to happen.
Mm.
Bring back Legends, that's never going to
Petition to get EA away from Star Wars never happened.
putting up the billboard has a lot. Even if more people sign a petition, it's lazy. For people who donated to that billboard, that was a bit more hard work because they're actually paying for it. And I think
That's
that
true.
far more. If they were contributing tens of thousands to that, then Legends would be back right now.
Hmm. So what else? Yeah, I would love them to re-release it, but I just don't know if it will ever happen.
Yeah.
So
Kind of goes to show like why I feel like Disney just doesn't care, in my opinion, and just so there's a lot of legal issues and what other issues? I
Remember, it's not.
don't know.
Remember, it's not just Disney. It's Disney and Lucasfilm. The two Lucasfilm higher ups I see right now the most are Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy, the team from a rematch.
And unfortunately, Pablo Hidalgo is one of them, and a lot of other higher ups at Lucasfilm that just I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't know.
To some degree, Lucasfilm takes their orders from Disney, but it's only in terms of the broader marketing in some sense. But all the story decisions, all Lucasfilms, all those bad decisions, the vendettas and the factions, that's all them.
Yeah.
all right, so I think we should wrap this up now.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was our discussion on the Microseries. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was good
And
to
I
do like
did-
a podcast again after so long.
I'd had an idea for, like I said in the comments here, about a general EU one. But we got
Yeah,
it
we could do that.
in the eras of Star Wars.
So yeah, we need to say goodbye now.
Yeah.
See ya.
Ata, Visiem.
Thanks for having me on, and yeah, it was fun.
I was just the
Yeah.
cameraman. I didn't really say much, so
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't really
You.
and I don't really enjoy podcasts much anymore. So that's just me.
So anyway,
Yeah.
conclude. For those of you who are watching, if you're looking for real positive Star Wars community, you've come to the right place.
Okay. Bye, peoples.
Bye.
Ata.
Bye, everyone.